Welcome to Fun and Friends. My name is Avalon.
I'm Sabrina.
And welcome to our channel and our last recording of the day.
Welcome. I'm missing one, but that's fine.
That's for this book, though.
Yeah.
That's par for the course for this book.
Yes.
All right. So, anyway, we are reading Throne of Glass, and we are on chapter number 8.
8?
Yeah, we're far ahead on this book.
Actually, yeah.
That's because the chapters are relatively short, so sometimes we double them up just because it makes sense.
Yes. So, last thing that happened in the last chapter was that there was a lot of family feuding between Prince, whatever his name is, and his dad, the king of the realm that they're in, and going on about if this champion's game is actually necessary, and that the prince has a lot of confidence in Selena to win, even though she's an assassin, like she's a really good assassin or something like that. And they just keep going back and forth about how the prince needs to obey his dad because he is king and he knows what's best. But the prince keeps like fighting with him a little bit. And this is the night before the champion ring begins, their first game. And I think he saw Selena in her ball dress, like how they do for Hunger Games, where they dressed up and they like interview people and mingled whatever prior to getting killed in the games, essentially. And he saw her in the dress, and he's just like, ooh, 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 ooh. I like what I see.
I feel like there's like this little like thing where
triangle,
like where the prince has interest, but so does the like captain guy.
Yeah, captain. I forget his name. But yeah, anyways, that's what happened essentially in the last chapter. Now we're going to go into the next chapter. And I'm just excited to see what the games are.
So I heard, and I don't know how true this is, that this is like the prequels to the court series that she does. So I got to do some more research into that. But actually that's really interesting, and I find that interesting since we do have a little bit of conversation about Fae in this one.
Forest. Mm-hmm. The enchanted forest.
So, take it with a grain of salt, because I don't know how true that is.
So they might be in the same realm, is what she's
But it
saying.
might be in the same realm, which would be kind of cool.
It would be really nice.
Especially because she just finished the first Court of Thorns and Roses.
It was really good. I liked it. I liked it.
Yeah, anyway, so she's going on the second book. So you're kind of like you're kind of living in the realm for a while.
Yeah.
You're like, all of this. And then we'll have to do the, after you finish that one, we should read the Crescent City ones, because that's the last one.
Sure.
That's the last series. There's 3 that she has.
Nice.
Anyway, let's go. Chapter 8. Selena walked down the marble hall, her dress flowing behind in a purple and white wave. Chartle stood beside her, a hand on the eagle-shaped pommel of his sword. Is there anything interesting down this hall? What else would you care to see? You've already seen 3 gardens, the ballroom, a historical room, and the nicest views offered in the stone castle. If you refuse to go to the glass castle, there's nothing else to see. Her arms crossed. She managed to convince him to give her a tour under the pretense of extreme boredom, when in fact she used every moment to plot a dozen escape routes from her room. The castle was old, and most of the halls and stairwells went nowhere. Escaping would require some thought. But the competition beginning tomorrow, what else did she have to do? And what better way to prepare for a potential disaster?
Jumping right into the fire.
She's like, get me out of here.
Now.
I'm getting ready for some stuff to go down.
Yes.
I don't understand why you refuse to enter the glass edition, he went on. There's no difference between the interiors. You wouldn't even know you were inside it unless someone told you and you looked out the window. Only an idiot would walk through a house made of glass. It's as sturdy as steel and stone. Yep, until somebody just a bit too heavy enters and then comes crashing down. That's impossible. The thought of standing on floors of glass made her uneasy. Is there no menagerie or library that we could see? They passed by a set of closed doors. The sounds of littling speech reached them along the gentle strumming of a harp. What's in there? The Queen's court. He grabbed her arm and pulled her down the hall. Queen Georgina? Didn't he have any idea what information he was giving away? Perhaps he honestly thought she wasn't a threat. She hid her scowl. Yes, Queen Georgina Havillard. Is the young prince at home? Holland? He's at school. And is he as handsome as an older brother? Selena smirked as Chartle tensed. Oh.
He does like her.
Oh, he does like
He
her.
does like
He's
her.
like,
Excuse me.
It was well known that the 10-year-old prince was rotten and spoiled inside out, and she remembered the scandal that had erupted a few months prior before her capture. Holland Halivard, upon finding his porridge burnt, had beaten one of the servants so badly that there was no possibility of it ever being concealed. The woman's family had been paid off and the young prince shipped to a school in the mountains. Of course, everyone knew. Queen Georgina had refused to hold a court for a month. Holland will grow into his lineage, Chartle grumbled. There was a bounce in her step as Selena walked on, the court fading away behind them. They were silent for a few moments before an explosion sounded nearby, then another. What is that awful noise? Selena said. The captain led her through a set of glass doors, and he pointed up as they entered a garden. The clock tower, he said, his bronze eyes shifting with amusement, as the clock finished its final war cry. She'd never heard bells like that. From the garden sprouted a tower of inky black stone. 2 gargoyles, wings spread for flight, perched on the back of 4 faces, soundlessly roaring at the beneath. What a horrible thing, she whispered. The numbers were like war paint on the white face of the clock, the hands like swords as they slashed across the pure pearly surface. As a child, I wouldn't go near it, Chartle admitted. You'd see something like this before the gates of Word, not in a garden. How old is this? The king had built it upon Dorian's death. This king? Chartle nodded. Oh, birth, not death. I was like, I thought Dorian was alive. Okay, I maybe
Dorian's birth, the prince.
This king? Chartle nodded. Why would he build such a wretched thing? Come on, he said, turning as he ignored the question. Let's go. Selena examined the clock for a second more. The thick, clawed finger of a gargoyle pointed at her. She could have sworn its jaws had widened. As she made to follow Chartle, she noticed a title on the paved pathway. What's this? He stopped. What's what? She pointed at the mark engraved on the slate. It was a circle with a vertical line through the middle that extended beyond the circumference. Both ends of the line were hooked, one directing downward, the other up. What is this mark on the path here? He walked around until he stood beside her. I have no idea. Selena examined the gargoyle again. He's pointing at it. What does the symbol mean? It means you're wasting my time, he said. It's probably some sort of decorative sundial. Are there other marks? If you looked, I'm sure you'd find them. She allowed herself to be dragged from the garden, away from the shadow of the clock tower, and into the marble halls of the castle. Try as she might, and walk as far as they did, she couldn't shake the feeling that those bulging eyes were still upon her. They continued past the kitchen quarters, which were a mess of shouting clouds of flour and surging fires. Once beyond, they entered a long hallway, empty and silent save for the footsteps. Selena suddenly halted. What, she breathed, is that? She pointed at 20-foot oak doors, her eyes widening at the dragons that grew out of either side of the stone wall. 4-legged dragons, not vicious, bipedal wyverns like those on the royal seal. The library. The 2 words were like a shot of lightning. She looked at the claw-shaped iron handles. Can we maybe go in? The captain of the guard opened the doors reluctantly, the strong muscles of his back shifting as he pushed hard against the worn oak. Compared to the sunlit hallway, the interior that stretched beyond them seemed formidably dark. But as she stepped inside, the candelabras came into view along the black and white marble floors, long mahogany tables and red velvet chairs, a slumbering fire, mezzanines, bridges, ladders, railings, and then books. Books. And books. And books. She entered a city made entirely of leather and paper. Selena put a hand against her heart. Escape routes be damned. I've never seen... How many volumes are there? Chartle shrugged. The last time anyone bothered to count, it was 1 million. But that was 200 years ago. I'd say maybe more than that, especially given the legends that a second library lies beneath the catacombs and the tunnels. Over 1 million? 1 million books? Her heart leapt and danced, and she cracked a smile. I'd die before I even got through half of that. You like to read? She raised an eyebrow. Don't you? Not waiting for an answer, she moved farther into the library. The train of her gown sweeping across the floor. I feel like Sarah J. Maas has a thing for Belle.
I think so too.
Because Farrah has like super love of book. Like,
Yeah.
she, not love of books, but
she's fascinated with learning or trying to read.
Yeah, and we have the whole, like, wolf thing
Beast
and her being the beast thing, and now we have the library thing in here. I think that she
likes Belle.
Her favorite character is Belle.
Mm-hmm.
She neared a shelf and looked at the titles. She recognized none of them. Grinning, she whirled and moved through the main floor, running a hand across the dusty books. I didn't know assassins like to read, Chartle called. If she were to die... Oh, are you moving the ring light? Okay. If she were to die now, it would be incomplete bliss. You said you were from Terrasen. Did you ever visit the Great Library of Ornith? They said it was twice the size of this, and that used to hold all of the knowledge of the world. Oh, we need to plug it in. I got you. I'm picking up what you're putting down. Whee! She turned from the stack that she was currently studying. Yes, she admitted, when I was really young, though they wouldn't let me explore. The master scholars were too afraid I'd ruin the valuable manuscripts. She hadn't returned to the Great Library since, and wondered how many of those invaluable books that she had been ordered to be destroyed by the King of Adarlan when he outlawed magic. From the way Chartle said used to with a tinge of sadness, she assumed much had been lost. Though part of her savored the hope that those master scholars had smuggled many of the priceless books to safety, that when the royal family had been slaughtered and the King of Adarlan invaded, the stuffy old men that had a good sense of hiding 2,000 years' worth of ideas and learning. A dead empty space opened beside her. You can unplug the thick one. The dead open space opened beside her. Needing to change the subject, she asked, "Why are none of your folk here? Guards are of no use in a library." Oh, how wrong he was. Libraries were full of ideas, perhaps the most dangerous and powerful of all weapons. She said, "I was referring to your noble companions." He leaned against the table, a hand still on his sword. At least one of them remembered that they were alone together in a library. Reading is a bit out of fashion, I'm afraid. Yes, well, more for me to read then. Read? These belong to the king. It's a library, isn't it? It's the king's property, and you aren't of noble blood. You need permission from either him or the prince. I highly doubt either of them would notice the loss of a few books. Chartle sighed. It's late, and I'm hungry. So, she said. He growled and practically dragged her from the library. After a solitary supper, over which she contemplated all of her planned escape routes and how she might make use of more weapons for herself, Selena paced through the rooms. Where were the other competitors being kept? Did they have access to the books if they wanted? Selena slumped in a chair. She was tired, but the sun had barely set. Instead of reading, she could perhaps use the pianoforte, but, well, it had been a while, and she wasn't sure she could endure the sound of her own stumbling, clumsy playing. She traced her finger over the splash of fuchsia ink on her dress. All of those books, and no one to read them. An idea flashed, and she jumped to her feet only to sit at the desk and grab a piece of parchment. If Captain Westfall insisted on protocol, then she would give him in abundance. She dipped her glass pen in the pot of ink and held it over the paper. How odd it felt to hold a pen! She traced the letters in the air. It was impossible that she had forgotten how to write. Her fingers moved awkwardly as the pen touched the paper, but she carefully wrote her name then the alphabet 3 times. The letters were uneven, but she could do it. She pulled out another paper and began to write. Your Highness, it has come to my attention that your library isn't a library, but rather a personal collection, for only you and your esteemed father to enjoy. As many of your million books seem to be present and underused, I must beg you to grant me permission to borrow a few so that they might receive the attention that they deserve. Since I am deprived of company and entertainment, this act of kindness is the least someone of your importance could deign to bestow upon a lowly, miserable wretch such as I. Yours most truly, Selena Sardodian.
Sounds about right. The grovel.
Your Highness. Selena, the amount of sass that was in that note.
Yes, I loved it. I love every bit of it.
She's just so sassy.
I love it, honestly.
Selena beamed at her note and handed it to the nicest looking servant she could find, with specific instructions to give it immediately to the crown prince. When the woman returned half an hour later with a stack of books piled in her arms, Selena laughed and she swiped the note, that crowned the column of the leather. My most true assassin, enclosed are 7 books from my personal library that I have recently read and enjoyed immensely. You are, of course, free to read as many of the books in the castle library as you wish, but I command you to read these first, so that we might discuss them. I promise they are not dull, for I am not one inclined to sit through pages of nonsense and bloated speech, though perhaps you might enjoy works and authors who are think highly of themselves. Most affectionately, Dorian Howlivard. Most affectionately.
Wow, there.
And we got something to talk about. Read my books first.
Yeah.
I need
to talk to you about.
I need to give you an excuse so you can talk to me and have conversation. Selena laughed again and took the books from the woman's arms, thanking her for her trouble. She walked into her bedroom, shutting the door with a backwards kick, and dropped to the bed, scattering the books across the crimson surface. She didn't recognize any of the titles, though one author was familiar. Choosing the books that seemed the most interesting, Selena flipped onto her back and began to read. Selena awoke the next morning to the wretched booming of a clock tower. Half asleep, she counted the chimes. Noon. She sat up. Where was Chartle? And more importantly, what about the competition? Wasn't it supposed to have started today? She leapt from bed, stalked through the chambers, half expecting him sitting in a chair, a hand on his sword. He wasn't there. She popped her head into the hallway, but the 4 guards only reached for their weapons. She paced onto the balcony, the crossbows and 5 guards beneath clicking into position, and she put her hands on her hips to survey the autumn day. The trees in the garden were gold and brown. Half the leaves were dead on the earth, yet the day was so warm it could have passed for summer. Selena took a seat on the rail and waved at the guards, with their crossbows aimed at her. But that's so sassy though, like, while they're down there, hey! Hi! Hello down there! Cross-breath hold, she could make out the sails of ships and wagons and people streaming through the streets. The green roofs of the cities glowed emerald in the sun. She looked again at the 5 guards beneath the balcony. They stared right back at her and then slowly lowered the crossbows. She grinned. She could knock them senseless with a few heavy books. A sound flitted through the garden, and some of the guards glanced towards the source. 3 women appeared from around a nearby hedge, clustered in conversation. Most of the talk Selena had overheard yesterday was immensely dull, and she didn't expect much as the women neared. They wore fine dresses, and one in the middle, a raven-haired one, wore the finest. The red skirts were the size of a tent, and her bodice was tightly bound that Selena wondered if her waist was any more than 6 inches. The other women were blondes dressed in pale blue, their matching gowns suggesting their rank as ladies in waiting. Selena backed away from the ledge as they stopped at the nearby fountain. From her place at the back of the balcony, Selena could see as the woman in red brushed a hand down the front of her skirts. I should have worn my white dress, she said loudly, enough for everyone in Rithold to hear. Dorian likes white. She adjusted a pleat in her skirt. But I'd wager that everyone's wearing white. Shall we go change, my lady? Asked one of the blondes. No, snapped the woman. This dress is fine. Old and shabby as it is. But the other blonde, then stopped as her mistress' head whipped around. Selena approached the rail again and peered over the dress. The dress was hardly looking old. It won't take long for Dorian to ask me for a private audience. Selena now leaned over the edge of the balcony. The guards watched the 3 girls, rapt for another reason entirely. Though I worry how much Parrington's courting will interfere, I do adore the man for inviting me to Rithold. My mother must be writhing in her grave. She paused and then said, I wonder who she is.
Oof.
Your mother, my lady? The girl the prince brought to Rithold. I heard he traveled all over Arela to find her, and that she rode into the city on the captain of the guard's horse. I have heard nothing else about her, not even her name." The two women lagged behind their mistress and exchanged exasperated looks that informed the assassin this conversation had been held many times before. "I don't need to worry," the woman mused. "The prince's harlot won't be well received." "His what?" The ladies in waiting stopped beneath the balcony, batting their eyelashes at the guards. I need my pipe," the woman murmured, rubbing her temples. "I feel a headache coming on." Selena's brows rose. "Regardless," the woman continued, striding away, "I shall have to watch my back. I might have to—" Crash! The woman screamed. The guards whirled their crossbows, pointed, and Selena looked skyward as she retreated from the rail and into the shadows of the balcony doorway. The flower pot had missed this time. The woman cursed so colorfully that Selena clamped a hand over her mouth to keep from giggling. The servants cooed, wiping mud from the girl's skirts and suede shoes. "Be quiet," the woman hissed. The guards wisely didn't let their amusement show. "Be quiet and let's go." The woman hurried off as the princess harlot strode into her chambers and called for the servants to dress her in the finest gown they could find. Woo! So sassy throwing a flower pot over the edge. Like, who are you calling Princess Harlot?
How dare you?
How dare you?
Oh my god.
And
I love it though.
Yeah, she's just got so much spunk.
I love it. I love it. I'm living for it. I think it's great.
So I'm having a feeling that she's gonna go out there and be like, "Oh hey, Princey,
I'm your harlot.
Hi," and just kind of live it up. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I agree with that.
Because I think she was like, "Okay, I'm not a harlot. Like everyone keeps calling me that. I'm fucking done."
Yeah. I agree. She's over it.
She's like, "That's not what you brought me here for, and I'm done.
I'll show you."
And then the prince is also like flirting with her, which is kind of cute. So with the book thing,
affectionately.
But I don't think that he wants to know her like mentally, but more like physically, if you know what I mean. So, but I think that Chartle has
an interest, a genuine interest,
like in her mentally, like getting to actually know her and
I agree with
date
that.
her,
which
is why he was like when she brought up the prince.
Yeah, I agree.
Anything else to add?
I'm interested to see how, because that day was supposed to be the day of the games, and it didn't. Like so far, it hasn't happened. So I'm interested to see if it's gonna be like a nighttime.
I'm wondering if it's a ball, which is why that they're having because like before the Hunger Games, I think it was like the third Hunger Games, they had like a big ball before it started, which is why I think like we find the one lady that was out in the garden and she's getting all dressed up, and I think that the contestants weren't invited, right? Which is why
and they might be the entertainment.
Well, they might be the entertainment, or maybe they just weren't invited. Like, this is technically, like, the first night. This is all the people who are placing bets, who are, like, gonna watch.
The pregame stuff.
Yeah. So, technically, like, the competition starts, but it's more like the ball before the competition.
Right.
Yeah. I want the competition to start. I'm like,
I'm anticipating it. I really want to know how it's going to be laid out.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I get it. We're doing all the pregame stuff. I know you're setting up all the romances. I know you're getting it ready, but I just want the action. Like, I want to jump in. Like, stop, like, scooting around it. Like, oh, here's the library. Oh, here's the people in the garden. Oh, here's this. Like, I get it. You're setting it up. But I'm ready for some action.
I want to know who she's fighting against, too, as a competition.
Too. Like, I'm excited for that.
I wonder if there's other, like, women, or if they're all going to be...
guys.
Yeah. To put that disadvantage for her, disadvantage to her.
Maybe get some enemies to lovers. We'll have a third lover in there.
Oh, God. I don't know if
they're all just like, oh, she's so cute. And she's like, die. Because, you know, she's an assassin.
Yeah.
Use her womanly charms as an advantage.
Charm.
You're always tired. This girl. I saw a comment. We were joking about the comment that was left today on one of our videos from a while ago where she actually fell asleep and I was laughing. And somebody commented, is Sabrina okay? Like,
I'm fine. I work night shifts and evening shifts and all shifts at a
So
hospital.
if you see little Z's like coming off the top of her head, you know why.
Yeah. I just worked night shift last night and I only slept 4 hours today and then got up, came here.
Yep.
So I'm tired. Anyways.
Anyway, yes, she's okay. If she falls asleep, you know why.
Yes. I'm fine. I promise. Well, I guess you guys put your commentary down below because we want to know what you guys think, what your predictions are. What are you anticipating?
Who would you, if this was a real life movie, who would you cast as Selena?
That's a good one.
That's a good one, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking that. Who would you cast as Selena? Who has that like sassy mentality that could play her really well?
I'm trying to think of like more modern actors because I would say Jennifer Lawrence.
She's blonde. I think Jennifer Lawrence could do a really good one.
But I see her as like Katniss every day.
Yeah, but because she's such a strong female lead.
Yeah.
I think that she could do it. I'm trying to think of any of the other ones. Oh, I don't remember what her name was, but there's a girl from I am number something. I am number 4.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember that girl?
No, but I know the movie.
You should look her up. She's like blonde, badass. And she, like, protects the main character. I don't know how old she is now. I don't know if she aged it out, because I don't remember, like...
I think she might be aged out.
She might be aged out.
Kind of an old
That's
one.
we're kind of dating ourselves here.
A little bit.
Like
I said, I'm trying to think of, like, modern
actresses.
But I don't know much, because I don't watch a lot of TV anymore. Or, like, TV shows, even. So, the only one I can think of is Jennifer Lawrence.
Honestly, I could see a blonde, the girl from Vampire Diaries.
Caroline?
No, like if the main character, Elena. If she like dyed her hair blonde.
Yeah.
Like, because she does such a good
strong female.
Yeah, when she's pretending to be Catherine, she does such a good like sassy, like strong person. I don't know how she would look as a blonde, but I like her just like personality like would fit really well.
Yeah. Well, let us know what you guys think down below. We'd love to hear it. We're a little out of touch, I guess.
Gotta watch more TV.
Yeah, let us know what you guys think. And I guess until next time.
Yeah, see you next time.
Bye.